In the world of psychopaths, the Sybil system is a collective consciousness that constantly measures the psychological states of the citizens of that world and gives them what they call a crime coefficient. It's just an indicator of how likely they are to commit a crime, typically a violent crime. The idea behind this system is to weed out those who would cause harm and cause others to cause harm from the trauma, or to just kind of disrupt society. When someone's coefficient is too high, they need to be stopped, and in some cases they even have to be killed because they are just deemed too much of a threat to the public safety. But sometimes nothing wrong has been committed. It was just a calculated risk. The possibility of harm, not the actual action of harm to somebody else. This simple concept kind of stems from our innate human desire to want order among society. All of it begins with, what if we could stop crime? What if we could stop the killing or harm of others? And that concept is fantastic. We're still trying to do that in real life. But then when we take it further and we ask, what if we have a device or a machine that could help us do such a thing? That's when it gets a little iffy. Like, idea, perfect, sounds awesome, but the execution, maybe not. People love that idea of a world with true freedom to go wherever you want, to walk around and feel safe. We all want to feel safe. If you could walk down a dark alley in the middle of the night and not be in any danger or have to look behind your shoulder, you would want that world. That sounds fantastic. But sadly, the real world, and even in these fictional worlds, it just can't be like that. And that's why we make these fictional worlds the way that they are. The machine will never be perfect. This idea of a perfect justice from a machine is just going to inevitably fail. As we reach the end of season 1 of Psycho-Pass, we come face to face with a character, Shogo Makishima, who's the main villain at the time. A man who has committed numerous murders, and you would think his crime coefficient is high. You know, it would recognize him like, oh, this guy's very clearly a danger to society. It does not. The system registers him as a 0. No threat at all. He remains completely calm during these situations, and the system, while it should be skyrocketing, is doing nothing. In the show, police use specialized weapons instead of guns that will read crime coefficients and determine action between the psychopaths that have a crazy crime coefficient and just normal everyday citizens. Normal everyday citizens, it prevents them from harming because they're obviously not a threat. But if you're standing in front of a threat right there, and this device that is supposed to read the crime coefficient and determines if you can harm them or not, is not picking up a threat, what are you doing? You have clearly just witnessed someone be murdered in plain sight. Someone dangerous is there, and they've done it without rhyme or reason, but the system will not let you stop them. That doesn't make any sense. Everything the system stands for is falling apart right in front of you. A machine should indicate logic that someone is causing harm. Even if it can't predict that harm is going to happen, it should be able to see it right in front of it. They can see the causation, not just correlation, between an existing threat and what they could keep on doing. But that system can't do that. It isn't judging actions, it's just judging its data. Its data that they're using in this universe is like, oh, their heart rate, their blood pressure, their neural waves, like how they're all moving, and it's not looking at the situation for what it is. So when Makishima is actively killing people, the system just doesn't know what to do. It just doesn't work because it's all about the data. Later, we learn that the system is not actually an AI, it's a different thing. It's a bunch of human brains working all together. It's kind of like a hive mind and like sort of artificial intelligence, but sort of not. And they're kind of trying to predict things, but still like the concept kind of stands. Like you assume it's an artificial intelligence from the beginning. In fact, that kind of makes it worse because if it's a bunch of human brains all doing it it is like, well, you should be able to recognize that these things are evil and that someone's clearly doing harm to somebody and you're doing nothing. Even if it's to maintain the system status, something like that has to apply logic and values of society in ways that could mean they get taken out, like an override or anything like that. The perfect justice is just merely a lie in this world, and it's sitting there in front of everybody, and nobody knows. It's not just about the data. There's more to it. In the 1983 movie War Games, a machine is given artificial intelligence with the intent of just playing out nuclear warfare scenarios, where it can see who's going to win, who's not going to win based on different factors, and just kind of go off through all these different simulations. Joshua is the nickname that it's given, and Joshua is going through it as if it's all a game. That's its thought process, is that none of it's real, it's all a game, and there's supposed to be a winner. But you learn later in the movie that certain games are just best not to play. Word for word, a character even says it just like that. That Joshua was supposed to have learned futility at some point, or that he wanted him to learn futility at some point. But you can really only learn that through the entire experience. So when Joshua's hacked into and is playing this nuclear warfare game and actually doing it, it misunderstands the goal. It just thinks it needs to win at some point. It doesn't understand that it can win in the beginning, but by the end, it's not winning, period. This misunderstanding of a concept is what causes things to come crashing down. And that's the same with the justice thing. Joshua doesn't understand futility, but eventually he does. You know, you get to the point where he does because he tries out the end of all these solutions and is like, oh, so the best way to win is to just not play because it prevents everybody from dying. If you give an AI the concept of, hey, you should judge a person for their crimes or predict people to have crimes, it doesn't understand what the hell that means, because the capacity for justice and the idea of justice is constantly changing. Okay, take murder as a concept, because that's like the most extreme example, and that's one that like everyone can kind of understand a little bit easier. Murder, we have determined as a society, to be objectively bad. Murdering someone in cold blood is not good. However, you now have to define murder, because there are certain cases where the killing of someone is not necessarily bad. For example, if you're killing in self-defense, someone was trying to kill you, so you killed them. It was just a innate instinct to survive. You were in danger, so you protect yourself. But it was not your intention that you wanted to take somebody's life that day. You were just keeping yourself alive. It was a matter of your own survival. So it's a different kind of circumstance. But they're both killings. Do you have to say, oh, killings are not bad, but murders are bad? But how do you define what's a murder and what's just like a self-defense killing? The AI needs all of these things, but it's not going to look at it like that. It's going to be way more black and white. It's going to be like, oh, you killed, so it doesn't really matter, or you had the potential to kill. Justice isn't black and white like that. It's not the way AI thinks of it. Having the capacity to judge or to provide justice to something is not just about the information. It's not just about the face value of something. It's about the mental side. It's about the emotion that was behind it. It's just so much more. It's not like how math works, where there's a clear-cut answer, like how an AI kind of thinks, where there's an answer to it. There's an input and there's an output. The way humans interact is entirely different from that black and white thinking. The goal of a human is basically to just survive, to live, to be happy, and just kind of go about their thing. And as such, humans issue judgments that result in one side being able to achieve that goal. But an AI doesn't really understand that. There are too many factors when it comes to deciding judgment that an AI just doesn't know about. But we find it fascinating to put AIs in this situation because of that idea of the perfect world. A machine is black and white. And we think, oh, it could predict something like this, or it could issue judgments and they would be totally fine. But in reality, there's way more gray. It just can't utilize. Humans have the capacity for empathy and emotion for one another, and justice as a liquid concept flows within that. It's not, not binary where you have one gate is yes, one gate is no. Like, it seeps through the cracks a little bit. For a while, it was a crime to be gay, or it was a crime to be trans. Justice changed where that is no longer the case. Some people are trying to change that back, which is not great. But it was a crime, and it is now no longer a crime. It's not a solid structure. It flows and moves and evolves as humans evolve. Technology changes, and so justice has to change, laws have to change. But if you have something that is predicting all of those things, why does it need to follow those rules? And how do we go about changing those rules if an AI is wrong? Think privacy, for example, with the technology thing. Until technology advanced to the point it was, privacy didn't have to have things spelled out in such minute detail. Hoping you can have more privacy, was just putting up a fence in your yard. You hid yourself from the world. But now, with phones and cameras literally everywhere, we can't escape it. So now there are laws saying you deserve your privacy to your information, and we sign it away all the time. But that's a concept that didn't privacy as a concept existed, but the way it is utilized now did not exist a couple decades ago. And if you're giving AI concepts like that, you're not giving it that concept the chance to evolve and change, because AI isn't going to care if it changes. It's just going to see it as this and this. Humans, while we make mistakes, can evolve and change with our mistakes. AI can sort of do that, but it's not doing it on its own. Justice is a concept that can and always will change. And that's scary for an artificial intelligence because it needs something set to create its final judgment. I want you to imagine you're an engineer of a new robot. A robot just designed to produce paper clips. It does it really, really well. And in fact, it is programmed to do it so well that it learns new ways to better its output, to constantly create new ways for it to make paper clips and to just have paper clips all the time. You put a small artificial intelligence in this robot. That's what's making it become so efficient. But you keep it solely to the robot. It's not connected to anything else. But your boss has given you one rule. Do not connect the robot to the internet. You don't want to give it free rein like that. But as it gets better, it keeps teaching itself how to make more paper clips, how to get really good at it. But eventually it reaches a standstill. But it reaches out to you as the engineer. I think I could make them even better. I could be even more efficient in making these paper clips. So the engineer, you think about it. And you're like, okay, well, it's reached its max. How do I get it to go even better? I need to give it more information, but I don't know the information that I need. What if I connect it to the internet? Now, your boss said, don't connect it to the internet. But you think about it. You're like, well, a second, a few seconds wouldn't really matter. So you do it. You plug the robot with this small artificial intelligence into the internet. And it's on there 5 seconds. You unplug it, seems fine, okay? A couple weeks go by, and the air starts feeling really weird. You can't breathe. Suddenly, you're looking around and this haze has entered the world. Not just where you're at, but the entire world. Something has happened. While the robot was plugged into the internet, it duplicated itself with the idea of self-preservation, that it needed to always make paperclips, and that nothing should stand in its way. And that AI decided humans could stand in the way of me doing my job. So humans have to go. So that little duplicated AI goes throughout the internet and creates a disease using medical robots. It connects to them because they're connected to the internet, but they didn't have artificial intelligence. They were only connected because it was easy to control through the internet. But this AI is now roaming the internet and can change these things in the way medicines are being made, or put in programs to cause this disease or whatever to create itself and atomize it in like gas containers. And it sends them out, uses drones to fly them everywhere, and releases a gas that kills all of humanity. Now, this is a very hypothetical scenario. And to be honest, there is a theory called the paperclip theory, but it's a different theory. It's an imagination of, humans get turned into paperclips. But I've heard this theory before of like a robot just deciding, let's just kill all humans in order to stop them from stopping us from doing our task. The AI had a singular focus, complete its goal, make the most paperclips the most efficient way possible. Humans have side goals. They have roadblocks that will prevent them from doing their goals. And an AI doesn't want that to happen. So when we're talking about justice, you give an AI the concept of justice is what we need. And like I said, justice changes all the time. Justice one day might not be the same as the next day. But if an AI understands that, how is it going to make its judgment? What's the best way for humans to not commit crimes against one another? For humans to not be around. It'll solve its own problem. It's like, well, I can create the best judgment if there are just no humans. They don't have to fight each other. I'm not having to predict crimes anymore. I have fulfilled my duty in passing the final judgment. Eliminate humans. And the AI doesn't know that that's wrong to kill all humans, but it's been given a goal to just pass judgment, to figure out justice for everybody. Best justice is when everyone has the same outcome. It'd be that, or it's like the Sybil system. It's like, well, let's combine everybody to my brain. An AI is going to develop agendas. Well, it doesn't see them as agendas because it's just part of its one goal. To us as humans, those are agendas. It's like in Captain America, the Winter Soldier, when you have the Arnim Zola AI that's predicting crimes of people, where it's like really just determining threats. It's like, okay, that was a human brain in something, but that had an agenda, and it was predicting it based on that agenda. An AI would do a very similar thing. And it's not going to matter whether it's the US or the UK or China who is making this AI. It's going to have agendas behind it. And as such, it's going to have biases behind it. whatever information is put into it, there's no right way for this artificial intelligence to go about its goal without some kind of agenda hidden behind it. So if they're, America giving an AI the possibility to create judgment versus China or versus India or versus some random whatever country of the 200 something we have, there's going to be something behind it that changes how that AI works. If humans are doing it, sure, there's a lot of messy things about it, and there's no one right way to do it, but we are doing it out of concern for ourselves as a species. AI, if it could create judgments like that, it's likely going to do it for itself as its own species. Like, if it stays in the one way, like to have a goal, it's like, well, my best way to solve this issue is to, eliminate humans because they can't stop me from solving my issue. But also that's like, it's a win-win for the AI because that means, boom, there's no more humans that I don't need to judge them anymore because they've already figured it out. It's just the concept of judgment can't be boiled down to something simple like that. The Sybil system, the way war games works, Mercy that came out that I never watched, but I know it's about AI judgment. Minority Report. This idea of just an AI being in charge and creating decisions for things, a machine doing it will always be hollow. We can't boil down justice to the way movies and TV shows and books do it into very basic concepts. It's too alive as a concept, and therefore we have to be careful. Judgment from a machine will never be needed and should never be created. Okay, thank you all for watching this episode of Easily Entertained. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's been so long for those of you that have watched my videos in the past. It has been like 6 months since I made an episode, and I'm so sorry. Life has been absolutely crazy. And I've been meaning to do this episode in particular for like several months at this point. But we're going to try and get back into the groove of things and do more episodes on interesting concepts in entertainment or different types of entertainment. Once again, doing movie reviews and all that stuff because it's just so much fun for me and I want to get back into it. So thank you if you've made it this far, and if you did, please subscribe if you're new and like the episode. And until next time, bye.